steak, flat iron steak. We also got some chicken, got some onions, tortillas, cheese, salt, all the good stuff. And about to pass it over. Whoop. To my girlfriend, who's gonna be filming while she types on the computer. All right, you guys know the rules. First things first, we're gonna start chopping the thing that takes the longest to cook, which is going to be actually the onion. This is a full recycling household in that when we buy food and have leftovers, we'll still cook it like it is a meal from scratch. So obviously that onion has already been partially cooked, but it's not fully cooked. And so we're gonna take some bacon grease that we keep in our jar, unrefrigerated, by the cast iron. Pros say don't do that, but we've been doing it for a long time, haven't gotten sick yet, knock on wood. I think we're gonna be okay. All right, we have already salted the chicken, added a little bit of onion powder, but we're going to be putting onions in the pan too. And so while we have this going on, we're going to spread this around. And we're going to toss the onions in the pan. Let these spread out a little bit. Yeah, you know, we obviously want to hear a little bit of a sear, but it's actually not essential because we're going to give these all the time that they need to get nice and charred. And you're hearing it already, okay? And as that goes, we have our meat. We also have leftover meat because we're going to be very efficient with how we cook these things. So we're going to cook regular lunch, we're also going to cook leftovers because I'm cooking for my girlfriend and myself. I'm the only one eating quesadillas, so we gotta spread the beef across two people, but I'll show you how easy it is and how delicious it is. Topic of the day, infrastructure. You guys all saw that boat hit the Baltimore Bridge. One of the things that people might not realize right away about infrastructure failures, everybody's talking about, is it a cyber attack? You know, is this a DEI thing? You know, is it a terrorist attack? Like, what is it? Well, we don't know. My girlfriend is giving me what I think is the most plausible, non-conspiratorial explanation, which is those ships aren't getting maintenance enough. And when something doesn't get maintenance, and it happens to not break down in an inopportune place, then it can take an entire bridge down. But one thing that this will absolutely add to is, starts with an I, inflation, right? Because when our supply chains break down, what does that mean? It means it costs more to get the goods on Amazon and Walmart. It costs more to move things from point A to point B. As we bitch about that, I'm going to put some more bacon grease on the skillet. That's where we're going to cook our tortillas, okay? While that gets hot, one thing I forgot to take out the tallow. We're going to cook the chicken and the beef in the tallow. Good thing this stuff doesn't really get old because it's been in there for quite some time. The reason we're cooking these in tallow is because bacon grease actually isn't good for you compared to beef tallow. It just tastes good. It tastes good with the tortillas. It tastes good with the onions. But again, it's not good for you. So, spin this around. Let that heat up. And then we're going to put these tortillas on one pan. grease on both sides. Okay, now we got our beef tellers getting pretty hot and heavy. We are going to put our flat iron That's a good sear sound. We like that sound. And then I want to touch the chicken with my fingers because I learned my lesson washing my hands on while we're live, so I'm going to try not to do that. Okay. We're going to cook the chicken as well. If anybody has any questions, drop them below, obviously. A lot is, people are starting to talk about Pete. I don't even know how to say Pete's last name, Buttigieg, whatever. Another amazing meltdown under his watch. I don't know to what extent he's actually responsible for that, but as my girlfriend noted the other day, you know, anybody who's supporting the war in Ukraine is supporting a diversion of viable American vessels. And so right now, our infrastructure is depending on the B team and the C team. And when the B team and the C team are called upon, don't be surprised when they let you down. And so that's what's happening right now with Empire trying to fight all these wars that we can't afford. Okay, so we're going to flip these tortillas right now. And then we're going to add some cheese on. Yummy, yummy. Yummy, yummy. All right. One thing we're going to do right now is we got to make sure that this oil spreads around the pan properly. So we're going to do a little bit of that. That chicken is very close to being ready to be flipped. Much faster than actually. Ready now. Both of these chickens are ready to be flipped. Steak, this one, that one's ready. This one's not ready to be flipped yet. That's going to need to hang out for a little bit. Look at how fast these tortillas are cooking. That's an excellent sign. And I'm going to show you guys a little trick to get the bottoms crispy. Not rocket science, but it does taste delicious. And, you know, I was talking to one of my private coaching clients yesterday about the things that we're worried about now, you know, infrastructure or otherwise, are very different from the things that people would have worried about 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But as a responsible adult, it's up to you to survey where you're at and figure out, like, what am I actually at risk of? And, you know, 10 or 20 years ago, nobody would be thinking of, you know, being at risk of infrastructure collapses. Or, you know, more recently, especially given our car accident, but even before that, you know, we're very concerned about Texas drivers. They're very bad. I was actually thinking as I was on the assault bike earlier today that if I were an actuary and I were trying to assess the risk of me dying in a car accident in the next 15 years in Texas, or 20 years in Texas, I think it would be like 1%. There'd be a 1% chance that's going to happen. And you might think, okay, 1% is not that high, but like, that's the same risk as the murder rate in Honduras, 50 per 100,000 per year. And so you would think Honduras is very dangerous when people who are aware of what Honduras is like. But people have this way of not worrying about things based on how statistically prevalent they are. And I think infrastructure collapses, I don't imagine people are going to die in most of them, even though I think 12 people died on the bridge. But, that's very real. Well, these risks that our parents never really worried about, we're going to have to start worrying about and adjusting our lives around and really reducing our dependency on a lot of modernity. Okay, so now that we have both sides crispy, we're going to turn that around very quickly. And we're going to put that on side one. We're not going to try that with the other quesadilla. That did not go the way I anticipated it, so we're going to call an audible, and we're only going to have one crispy quesadilla, the other one being a normal flat iron steak quesadilla. Both are going to be delicious. One's actually going to be chicken, so I'm going to save the steak for most of the steak for my girlfriend. Okay. All right, we're going to let that chill for a second. Let that chill for a second. I'm actually letting it chill on the food because to save time, we're using plastic cutting boards. Don't want to leave another dirty wooden cutting board in the sink. So I don't want to put hot stuff on the plastic because that's a great way to increase my exposure to plastics, even though I'm fairly sure these plates are coated in some form of petroleum product. It's going to give me perhaps similar exposure and turn me into a gay frog according to Alex Jones. Okay, so this is good. Let this one sit as well. Turn this off. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Yeah, we're going to let these chill for a minute. If you have any questions, drop them below. What do you guys think the next major event's going to be from an infrastructure standpoint? You have to think that, one thing that we're very concerned about is people texting while they're driving. And you have to think that regular politicians are going to start getting into wrecks because most of them don't have Secret Service tailing them around, making sure that people don't run into them. I'm pretty sure if you're the governor of a state, you don't really have a motorcade protecting you when you travel. If you're a senator, you don't either. And these people, there's crazy people driving in D.C., and just like we've seen, senators, congressmen, and then congresswomen, being the victims of petty crime, we're going to start seeing these people being the victims of technology-based accidents And it's actually most likely going to be the catalyst for some sort of change. Now, it might take a while, it might take 10 or 15 years, but I have to imagine that there will be a change in your accessibility to your smartphone while you're driving before self-driving cars eventually take over, as many people imagine they will. Okay. We're going to still wait on cutting these quesadillas and cutting the meat. It's still hot, still hotter than I want to put on that plastic, but it's cooling off. All right. Take some of the leftover meat. That's fine. We'll chop that up. Yep, that's good. All right, now we're gonna start throwing this on quesadilla number one. Before we fold that bad boy over. You might think that's a taco. Some people consider these tacos.
I have a question about if you feel financially comfortable at $1 million net worth, and I guess when would you feel financially comfortable?
Are you assuming my net worth is $1 million, or is it hypothetical?
Maybe hypothetical. And what did you do what did you do once you hit $1 million?
I kept working. It's not, I didn't know when I did. I think I was actually living with my mom at the time. I was 34 years old living with my mom because it was during COVID. And I moved in with my mom in COVID thinking that I'd be living with her for like 6 weeks. And I was making $250,000 a year in my W-2 job, but I didn't want to be in San Francisco. I thought that was a dangerous place to be. So I moved in with my mother. And 6 weeks turned into like 8 months. And the crypto market started taking off. And so, when Bitcoin hit like 40,000, I started thinking like, oh, okay, well, I wonder how much, what my net worth is. And, at that point, about or thereabout, was when I crossed the $1 million in assets amount. And I had my Wi-Fi business, but I was still working for my mom, and I was still, living with my mom, and I was still selling ebooks on Gumroad. So nothing really changed for me, actually, at all. I still wanted to grow the business that I'm running right now. I still, felt pressure to grow, the $1 million into a larger amount. And this is just perhaps my Jewish anxiety, where I don't think that, I think $1 million is financially comfortable, but I don't feel like I'll start taking my foot off the gas pedal until maybe 3 million or so, if I'm fortunate enough to get there. Because I still think that, I still need to work. Let's just say that. I don't need to work to pay my mortgage this month, but I need to work to, live the lifestyle that I want to live, because we're not yet planning on packing our bags, moving to Morocco, and living on, $3,000 a month yet. So the reality is, nothing happened. It didn't do anything. Was it better than not having $1 million in assets? Yes, but it didn't change very much. Okay, so here's what we're looking at.
Why should fit dudes be scared of being in San Francisco? Or why should they think it's dangerous?
Have you been around homeless people who, so they actually never attack me, but you don't want to be around hungry people when they're starving. And we had infrastructure challenges. The Trader Joe's that I got my meat from was out of food the Thursday before I booked my flight. And so, I went to shop before work one day. I normally went to the gym, but I decided, you know what? I could do deadlifts after work. Deadlifts are going to be there after work. The meat might not be. And so I went in to get meat at Trader Joe's by lunchtime. All the shelves had been cleared out. And at that point, I decided it didn't matter if I had 30 days worth of food. I wasn't going to be living in a city that homeless people might be hungry within a few blocks of me. That didn't seem like that was a good idea. So here's what we're working with right now from a steak standpoint, from a quesadilla standpoint. We're going to fold these over. This would be easier if we did it on a cutting board.
Just take a bite.
But we're not going to do that. Speaking of homeless people, I saw some when I was driving by our house. I need to go make sure that they're not forming an encampment. So that's where I'm going to go after I take this bite. And of course, Chef Alex does not miss. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. Live stream lunch. Post comments below if you have any requests for new content. Retweet me on Twitter. Like, subscribe. You know the drill.